Hey everybody, Nick Licamelli here, Doctor of Physical Therapy and the Injury Reduction and Management Specialist with 3DMJ. I'm real excited today. We're going to talk about the quarantine comeback and everything that we should be considering when returning to the gym after the gyms open up, with everything that's been going on. So it's going to be geared more toward the pandemic, but it's also, there's information here that can help with any layoff from training, right? If you do take some time off from training, we're going to talk about ways to kind of structure a strategic and safe way to return to your prior training, or better. So before we get into it, I want to just take a moment and I guess send my thoughts and prayers to everyone going through their own situations during this pandemic. I understand people have lost loved ones, family members, friends, and I hope that this presentation is a bit lighthearted and we throw some jokes in there, but I don't want it to be missed that I do understand that this pandemic is affecting everybody differently. And truly and honestly, from my family at home, there's my wife Carly and daughter Ava, who thank God everyone is doing well, staying healthy, and from our family of 3DMJ, we just want to say, hang in there, and if you need anything, reach out to us. We're here to help. That's what this community is for, to support each other. So before we got started, I wanted to just take a moment and just kind of acknowledge that. So what's the purpose of today? Well, we're going to highlight some of the silver linings that may be present during the crisis, but may be overlooked. I want to introduce some key concepts for this safe and strategic return to training. We're going to discuss injury and injury prevention. We're going to talk about the attributes that can be expected to decline during time off and by how much. We're also going to discuss workload management. All right, and we're going to apply the conceptual information to a sample athlete to hopefully give everybody some good takeaways. Not a cookie cutter approach, but more of just an example of how to apply all of this to an actual human being. So I could probably guarantee you that in the history of your life, you've probably seen a couple PowerPoint presentations, whether it's in high school, college, or anywhere, right, on YouTube, right, just like you're watching here. I can guarantee you that you've never seen Isaac Newton and Snoop Dogg on one slide. That's right. If you have to message me and explain how that happened. But today we have Isaac Newton and Snoop Dogg all on the same slide, because before we dive into this stuff, it is very important for me to acknowledge that any information that I present, yes, there's a reference list at the end, and there are studies that I've kind of explored and drawn my own conclusions from, but a lot of what's in this presentation has been delivered to me by much, much smarter people than myself. So this quote from Isaac Newton, if I have seen further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulders of giants. And I love that so much because it's a true example of humility, right? And being humble and understanding that I have my own biases. I have my own biases with everything that I read, everything that I absorb. So what I'm presenting here is just my interpretation of the current literature. And I'm sure that there may be disagreements or questions, and that's how we get better, right? That's how we get better. Keep an open mind to things like that. But these concepts aren't built from my own brain most of the time. Usually they're based on my interpretation of the most recent and quality research, as well as what's been given to me from other resources, which will be at the end, people and resources. So what's up with Snoop Dogg? In Starsky and Hutch, Snoop Dogg has this line where I think he has like a new car that didn't come out yet, and they ask him how he got it, and he goes, "I know a guy that knows a guy that robbed the guy or something like that. I know some people that know some people that robbed some people. So that kind of reminded me of an interesting take on Isaac Newton's quote there. But the idea being that I have stood on the shoulders of giants, and that's why I'm in this place to present to all of you today. So let's get into some of the silver linings. The first silver lining we're going to talk about is the discovery of a new optimal, right? So this situation forces us to get over the fear and apprehension that comes with auditing our prior training and making changes and trying new things, right? It's sometimes scary. Sometimes we get into our training routines and we feel so comfortable. We get comfortable and we're fearful and hesitant to take a step back and think about what we're doing, and are we optimizing our time, and are we doing things that may not be necessary and may be getting results despite that, right? So sometimes it's hard to stop, in your journey and audit your training and make changes. This pandemic forces us to do that. It forces us to do that. So that's a cool thing that's happening right now. Rather than trying to get back to our prior training, we should look at this opportunity as a possibility to finding a better optimal, right? Because optimal is a moving bell curve. It's not one spot. It's going to constantly shift back and forth, and this is kind of kicking us in the butt to possibly find a better optimal, right? So I don't want you to be going back to the gym with the goal of returning to your prior training. I want you to have in mind that your prior training was prior, and we're going to possibly find a better way coming out of this. So don't limit yourself by trying to get back to that prior level. And if great gains do occur with less work, which they probably will, and we'll get into that later, ride it out. Ride it out, baby. If we could get the same gains doing less work or more efficient work, that's the name of the game, right? That's finding that new optimal. So like we just said, don't arbitrarily just jump back to your prior training. Keep an open mind. We may find something better. And so we may just realize that. We may just realize we can get by pretty damn well with much less than what we were doing. The next silver lining is we can possibly experience an increased training effect, right? So similar to if you take a deload, right, or you're a newbie, right, and you kind of resensitize your system to the training effect. So as a newbie, you practically look at the weights and you get gains, right? Or after a deload, you feel like you could just spit fire. Or even like if you think about something like caffeine, right? If you steadily drink coffee, 3 times a day, you're not going to get that effect like you did the first time you drank it. But if you stop drinking coffee for a couple weeks and then you drink it again, you're going to really feel that, right? You're going to kind of resensitize your system to that. So this temporary layoff from the gym due to the pandemic can actually increase our sensitivity to training possibly. And so when I said the word coffee, I'm not sure if everyone picked up that I'm from New Jersey. That tends to be the word that gives it away if I have an accent, a New Jersey accent. So forgive me if I said coffee and not coffee. All right, the next silver lining, and probably one of my favorites, is innovation. So I think everybody should take a moment here and just congratulate themselves for finding ways to train through this. And you should be proud of yourself. You have been thrown a curveball in your training. You didn't sit back and feel sorry for yourself. You didn't you didn't let it derail you. What you did was you took it, right? You took the hit, and then you figured out how you're going to get the damn thing done, right? You realized that, hey, that branch in my backyard on that tree makes a damn good pull-up bar. Or you realize that, hey, this, case of water makes for a great load to carry when I do walking lunges. It made you dive into some social media accounts and Google some things and look up some different ways to train with body weight, and so think about where you were the first day that you didn't go to the gym compared to now, right? I'm sure it's light years ahead and more innovative than when you started, and that's something that not only in strength sport but in physical therapy that I try to instill in my patients is learning more about ourselves through injury or through something like this layoff, where we are forced to dig in and think and try to find more innovative ways to do what we love. And I just have two quotes here that I really like. Change is called for innovation, and innovation leads to progress, right? And that's, I think, perfectly sums up what's happening here as we started training at home and now are kind of transitioning back into the gym, and ultimately progress and innovation win, right?